Welcome back, Pokemon trainers. Professor Chaz here. The lab coat's on back order, and I'm once again up here in Uptown St. John at Heroes Beacon, my local Pokemon League. We're going to be doing a pre-release tournament for the new Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon expansion of Pokemon TCG. We're going to pop inside here, take a look at what a Pokemon pre-release tournament is all about, show you what you can expect if you go to a tournament in your area for these new cards. We're going to see a lot of these new cards in action as well. So without any further ado, let's jump inside and get started. The Pokemon TCG pre-release tournament is a special event held at Pokemon Leagues throughout North America. At these events, players can pay an entry fee set by the league organizer and obtain a special pre-release pack containing a 22-card pack, one exclusive foil promo card, and 4 booster packs of the newest expansion coming out up to 2 weeks before the expansion officially goes on sale in North America. The 22-card pack forms a basic core of a custom deck containing Pokemon of 2 different energy types, including some evolutionary chains of these Pokemon, along with a number of trainer cards. The foil promo card will correspond with one of the Pokemon types in this 22-card pack. The 4 booster packs are your standard random assortment of 10 additional cards from the upcoming expansion. Once the league organizer announces it's time to begin, players will then have 30 minutes to open all of their packs and construct a 40-card deck comprised of just those new cards, along with any basic energy cards they require, which will be provided by the league organizer. While the normal rules of deck construction state that a deck may not contain any more than 4 copies of any particular card, that rule does not apply to decks constructed during a pre-release tournament. That means that if you happen to pull 5 or more cards with the same name out of your 22-card pack and booster packs, you can include as many of them in your deck as you'd like. The tournament then gets underway with each player testing their newly constructed deck against one another. The matches are shorter than in a regular tournament with only 4 prize cards per match. A participation prize is awarded to all players who complete the full tournament, and that prize is an additional 3 booster packs of the latest expansion. Something important to note regarding pre-release tournaments is that after the tournament concludes, the usual rules of deck construction apply to this particular expansion, which means these cards are not permitted to be used in play Pokemon events until the 3rd Friday of the month in which this expansion goes on sale. After that, you're free to use these cards and include them in your custom decks however you'd like. And now let's go check out a match in play here at the pre-release and see some of these cards on the battlefield. Alright, our 2 contenders are getting underway, shuffling up their decks to prepare for the first match of this round of the Pokemon TCG pre-release tournament for Sun and Moon. And the coin flip is being made. Now, you can't tell what they're calling, of course, but it turns out that player 2 will be taking the first turn. So they're getting their initial hand of 7 cards set up and ready to roll, seeing if they have some basic Pokemon. Fortunately, we do not see any mulligans this time around, so we're going to get things started off nice and quickly. Now, player 2 makes an accidental mistake here, putting out 6 prize cards instead of 4, but that's okay. No cards are seen, and they put them back on top of the deck in just a moment. Just chalked it up to maybe the pressure of being in such like a high-level event, and just going with the standard instinct of setting up 6 prizes, but the 2 cards go back on top of the deck. So, let's see what the Pokemon are leading off with. There's a bit of a glare on the right side of the field on the active spot, but you can't see it. Togedemaru is the lead on player 2's side, as Makuhita leads on player 1's side with Passimian on the bench. So player 2 is going to play out a Nest Ball, which says search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck. So they opt for a Caterpie. When I was looking at that card, I was thinking that basically replaces Pokeball, right? Because Pokeball is a coin flip. On heads, put a basic Pokemon in your hand, but it actually is useful if you're going to get something like Hoopa EX, which has an ability when you play it from hand onto the bench. So Nest Ball is not quite a replacement for Pokeball just yet. Anyhow, we see a Lightning Energy was attached to Togedemaru. Player number 1 is going to attach an Experience Share onto the bench Passimian, which of course says if the active Pokemon is knocked out, you can move a basic energy from that Pokemon to the Pokemon holding Experience Share, and they attach a Fighting Energy onto Makuhita. This allows for it to use the Surprise Attack, which does 20 damage. If Tails, this does nothing, however. But they did get Heads, and they do 20 times 2 for the weakness onto the Togedemaru. Now player 2 plays a Crushing Hammer, but flips Tails, unfortunately, so no energy is discarded. As you're noticing, they're using the dice rolls instead of coin flips for this. But they do go with a Discharge from Togedemaru, which does 30 times, discard all lightning energy from this Pokemon, 30 damage times the amount of energy discarded. So they discarded 2, 60 damage inflicted on Makuhita. These players are going so fast, I can't keep up with what's happening. But player 1 plays out a Great Ball. Look at the top 7 cards of the deck and choose a Pokemon you find there and put it into your hand, and then shuffle up. They have a couple of options, perhaps. They choose Makuhita to get a second one into play. They can put that right on their bench after it goes into their hand, and shuffling up the rest of the cards back into the deck. So there's a pretty decent setup on both sides right now. They've lost energy on Togedemaru on player 2's side, but they can still put some more. I see a Lightning Energy in hand. And they're going to go ahead and attach an energy to... They're going to attach Water Energy to the active Makuhita. which now allows it to use Strength for a basic 40 damage, knocking out Togedemaru and taking the first prize of the match. Player 2 is left with nothing but a Caterpie on their side of the field. They're going to attach a Grass Energy to it, and they're going to play Energy Retrieval, bringing back 2 basic energy from the discard pile back into their hand. Now, they have to really hope they can get something going, because they can't really do any damage with Caterpie. It could Nap to heal 20, and with 2 energy it could offer 20 on the opponent, but unfortunately it cannot attack, as player 1 takes their turn and attaches a Fighting Energy to Makuhita, and goes for the Strength attack on Caterpie with the active Makuhita. Caterpie is now 10 HP away from fainting. So they're going to attach a Lightning Energy onto Caterpie, preparing for Evolution into Metapod. Now Metapod says, with Iron Defense, flip a coin. If heads, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks during your opponent's next turn. They luckily managed to flip heads, keeping Metapod in play for one more turn, as player number 1 takes their card to start their turn off, and they find Fighting Energy attached to Makuhita. Of course, no damage can be done, so they pass it back to player 2, who then plays a Caterpie from hand onto the bench, and they're going to attach a Grass Energy to Metapod, which can now evolve up into Butterfree. Now with 3 energy, it can use Psybolt for 1 energy to do 30. Flip a coin. If heads, you can confuse the opponent. Whirlwind can do 80 and force the opponent to switch their active Pokemon, which they do opt to do, except without switching, because they just basically knocked out the Makuhita. So that is the first prize taken for player number 2. Now, which Pokemon comes up from the bench on player number 1 side? And they're going to go with Passimian, because Passimian has a pretty nice attack in Fling for 1 Fighting Energy. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, so you can actually target things down on the bench with that Fling attack, which is kind of a cool idea. Passimian is known for throwing things around, so it's passing something to the bench Pokemon, but it inflicts damage to it. There you see 30 damage being done to the benched Caterpie. So back to player number 2's side, they draw an Alima card, it looks like, as they attach Lightning Energy to Caterpie. So what Alima does, it's kind of like N in a way. Both players shuffle their current hand into the deck, and then each player flips a coin. On a flip of heads, you draw 6 cards back. On a flip of tails, you only draw 3. So like N in a way, but it's kind of got its upsides and downsides. The downside is you're forcing your opponent to shuffle in, and for example, if they only had 1 prize card left with N, you would be forcing them to draw at least 3 back based on the flip. However, if you only have 1 prize card left, something like Alima or perhaps Judge would be better for yourself, because you wouldn't draw back just 1 using N. Now we just saw there player 2 played a Timer Ball, which says, if I can look at my own cards here, flip 2 coins. For each heads, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into hand. So you have 2 chances to get 2 evolution cards, and they actually managed to get the Metapod and Butterfree to start evolving up the bench Caterpie, and as they do so, the Metapod is now not in any danger of getting knocked out by another Fling attack. And they play Repel, which forces the opponent to switch their Pokemon. I guess kind of like Pokemon Catcher in a way, but it's not a coin flip. Now, is that basically a replacement for Lysandre? I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the Repel card yet, but you can see it on screen. And I'll have to look at that after I do the editing for this video. But they do force a switch. The bench Makuhita comes up and gets knocked out by a Whirlwind. And now player number 1 plays their own Repel, forcing a switch on the opposing side, and go for a Fling attack, 3 more damage counters onto the bench Butterfree. As player 2 pointed out during this video, Butterfree does not have a resistance to fighting, which kind of doesn't make sense, yet also does, because fighting cards are represented by fighting Pokemon and ground types, and Butterfree is resistant or immune to both of those. However, fighting card also represents rock type, which Butterfree is super weak to, so I guess it makes sense it's not fully weak to or resistant to fighting types. But we do see the other Butterfree come up and... Wait, was that Butterfree? I couldn't see what they sent up, but whatever it was, inflicted paralysis on the opposing side. And the Passimian now cannot attack. It did 30 damage and paralysis. So it looks like player number 1 drops down a Nest Ball to look through their deck to find a basic Pokemon to put right onto their bench. But the options are kind of slim, as they say. They don't have any basic Pokemon that don't have 80 HP or less, which is basically a one-hit knockout from the Butterfree's follow-up Whirlwind attack. But they gotta go with what they have. They place a Makuhita onto the bench, and with the paralyzed Passimian, there's not much that it can do at this point. There's no way to retreat this active Pokemon unless you have a switch card or something like that. They're going to attach a Fighting Energy to the benched Makuhita and then pass the turn as the paralysis wears off. So player number 2 adds another energy onto the active Pokemon, which I believe is a Butterfree. Oh wait, Psybolt doesn't confuse, it paralyzes. That's what it hit it with, okay. And the Whirlwind does knock out Passimian. Now I know what's going on. Like I say, it's hard to tell with the glare what's happening exactly, but anyway, player number 1 now plays Alima. And again, both players shuffle the hand in and flip a coin. And I think they each got a heads on that one. So they should be able to draw back 6 cards apiece. As I say, there is that downside where if the opponent is actually winning, N is a better option because it's going to slow down their hand. And I was going to say, how many cards are left in player 2's deck? But I'm looking at the prize cards thinking that was the deck. Alright, things are still okay. I thought, is that just 1 card left in the prizes? Or 1 card left in the deck, but it's actually only 1 prize left. Now, we see evolution in Makuhita going into Hariyama. However, it does need 3 energy to be able to attack. So they can't get any damage off just yet, but they play another Nest Ball for another basic. We did see that there was a Shelter played to the bench on the last turn, or during this turn, and an Alolan Rattata is added to the bench as well, using that Nest Ball. So, not quite ready for a knockout for the game just yet. I suppose if they did knock out, or if player 2 did knock out the Hariyama, that would still be the game anyway, with only 1 prize remaining. But player number 1 is trying to hang in there, just until they can get enough energy to be able to strike back. If the Hariyama has 1 more energy, it can use Push Out to do 60 and force a switch on the opposing side. I guess kind of like Whirlwind, except not quite as much damage being done. Player 2 plays a basic potion, healing 30 from the Butterfree in the active spot, playing down both a Chinchou and a Corsola onto their bench, with only 1 space left on their bench. They're going to start powering up the Corsola, it looks like. The Corsola has an attack. I do not have a Corsola card to look at, I don't think. Actually, wait, I do. Let me see if I can find it as the opponents switch turns. Now it looks like player number 1 is taking their turn. Player 2 went for a Psybolt, but didn't manage to get the paralysis on that turn. So now Hariyama is powered up, ready to attack. Of course, as I'm looking, there's Corsola. Corsola can call for a family to get 2 basic Pokemon under the bench, or with 3 energy, it can surf to do 60 damage. Now, another supporter card is played Lily. Lily allows you to draw cards until you have 6 in your hand, but if you play Lily on your first turn of the game, you actually draw until you have 8 in your hand. So definitely a good first turn supporter to make use of. Good way to get her in hand immediately would be something like perhaps Trainer's Mail or Random Receiver, and see if you can get Lily in hand on your first turn, play out everything else that you can, and then play her turn 1 for max draw support. We did see evolution into Cloyster on the bench from that Shelter, as they go for a push back. Is it push back? Push out for 60 damage and forcing a switch. Switching into the bench Butterfree, which does have a retreat cost of 1. Now, the nice thing about the Alolan Rattata that was played, it actually has a free retreat cost, so as you'll see in a little bit, as they go for a Whirlwind to push away the Hariyama, the best option is to bring up the Alolan Rattata so that it can do a free retreat. So they do the basic 80 damage onto the Hariyama, forcing a switch, and you'll see that the Rattata does become active. Because this idea here is, when you draw your hand, or draw your card for your hand on the next turn, if it's something that benefits a benched Pokemon, you can attach it to that Pokemon and freely retreat your new active Pokemon, in this case Alolan Rattata, not having to discard energy for a retreat cost if you can help it. So does player number 1 find anything to help them with? They're trying to see what they can do. There's very limited options. Both the Hariyama and Makuhita, and actually the Alolan Rattata, will all be destroyed by a Whirlwind attack. Now, the other problem is Cloyster actually has HP to survive. It has 120 HP, but it is weak to Grass-type Pokemon. So the Whirlwind would do 160 damage to the Cloyster. However, the Cloyster has the options of going for Headlock, which does 30 damage. If you flip heads, you do 30 more damage. If you flip tails, you paralyze the opponent's active Pokemon. I've said before, I always love attacks like that because it allows you to get a special effect either or, getting the status condition off or doing additional damage. So we do see that they choose to retreat into the Hariyama, basically just to take the damage from the Whirlwind. And they were going to play Alima. Now, they were mistaken. They thought they had played Lily on this turn, but it actually was the previous turn, so they don't play a supporter this turn. Unfortunate, that could have helped them out, but who knows, the Alima might not have actually given any beneficial cards as it is. So back on the player 2's side, they're playing their own Alima, which I guess is okay for player number 1. They don't actually use their own Alima supporter up. And we see a flip of heads. If you're using the dice rolls instead of coin flips, an even number is heads, an odd number is tails. And both players managed to flip heads with their coin rolls. Their coin flip / dice rolls. There we go. 6 cards now in hand. Still player 2's turn. What can they go for? Looks like there's going to do the basic damage, I believe, of 80, and forcing the opponent to switch. And this time around, I think they switch up the Cloyster. As they're pointing out, it does have weakness to grass, so it is still going to be a one-hit KO, which is the last prize of the match. But Cloyster is the only thing that can really help stall things out here. It can do the damage to get a knockout, perhaps. It could get the paralysis off, stalling things out a little bit longer. As they go for a water energy attached to the Cloyster, which, as I said, now can use the Headlock attack. Interesting name for an attack. I remember Thunderous EX had Headlock. I think it had the same effect as well. Either or, a coin flip of heads or tails would have some sort of beneficial effect. But now, player number 1 does play their own Alima, once again shuffling their cards in. There's a lot of shuffling of hands in this match. As we see, player 1 unfortunately flips tails, only going to get 3 cards back, but player number 2 did manage to flip heads to get 6. And they're seeing how much energy is attached to the Butterfree. They're going to go for a Crushing Hammer with a coin flip of heads, which they do get. They can discard an energy attached to any of the opposing Pokemon. They're going to opt for one of the, I think, the Lightning? I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter what they discard from Butterfree because it takes all colorless energy to be able to attack. So they do just discard a basic Lightning energy from it. And they now have the option to attempt the Headlock, which they're going to do. They're going to do 30 damage, and let's see what beneficial effect that the Headlock has as they go for a coin flip. So they're going to roll that dice. They find they have gotten Tails, it looks like. On Tails, the opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed, which, as I say, does stall things out for at least one more turn. You're going to attach another energy onto the Butterfree, so that it can use the Whirlwind again if it manages to get powered back up, or unparalyzed, I should say. And I believe I see a rare candy in player number 2's hand. I don't think there's anything that's going to really help, but they did play a card to draw some more. They got Lily played out. They got a switch card off of that draw. They managed to switch out to the bench Butterfree and get the knockout for the last prize. Well-played game on both sides. Unfortunately, player number 1 was just a little bit behind the 8 ball for the most part, but well-played to both opponents. And now it's time to see what I get out of my booster packs from the pre-release event. You're probably wondering why I'm here in the different location here at home as opposed to being at Heroes Beacon. Well, a sort of good news slash bad news story is we sold out our event for this pre-release. We had the most number of players we've ever had at Heroes Beacon for the Pokemon pre-release tournament, and as I say, it's a good thing, bad thing sort of thing. I didn't have space in store to open up my booster packs because the table space was just so filled up with players. And another bad thing is we actually ran out of pre-release boxes, so this time around I was not able to get one for myself. And I feel kind of bad about that because normally in these pre-release coverage videos, I like to give you folks out there a chance to win the code cards that I pull out of whatever packs I happen to get. And one of those codes being a pre-release box, but unfortunately, I was not able to get one for myself. I wanted to make sure the players all get their pre-release boxes, and basically, we just ran out. However, I did manage to pick up a good set of 5 Sun and Moon booster packs, which I will be opening up in just a moment. And as I say, the code card from each one of these will be going out to a lucky viewer that answers the question of the day in this video, which I'll give you in just a moment. Now, the packs do not go on sale, or rather the set does not go on sale until February 3rd, but we'll still do a random drawing in this video. I'm going to leave the, basically, the chance to win open until February 3rd, or at least the day before. That's when I'll do a drawing on a random name from the comments. I'll just answer the question of the day using the hashtag QOTD in the comment. I guess right now, let's just say the question right now. Let's make this specific to Gen 7 Sun and Moon. Question of the day is, which Pokemon from the Alola region is your favorite, and why? So basically anything that you can find in the video game of Sun and Moon, including Alola forms for previous species, or any of the new species found there. I guess anything, even say like Makuhita, previous Pokemon that do not have or Alola forms that do exist in the Alola region. Just let me know which one is your favorite. I suspect I'm going to hear a lot of people saying something new, for example, a new species or an Alola form. But basically, which Pokemon from the Alola region is your favorite and why? Just leave that in a comment down below and include hashtag QOTD in your comment. And on February 2nd, which is that's a Thursday, I believe, I'll do a random drawing from everybody in the comment section that has that hashtag in their comment and has answered the question to receive one of these code cards here, as well as a little bit of an extra bonus, which I'll mention after I open these up. But I'm kind of itching to see what do my first 5 packs of the Sun and Moon expansion have to offer for my own collection. So let's just jump in right now. We're going to switch the camera over to our camera here on the table. You see I've got 5 booster packs. I don't have one of each of the artworks, unfortunately, to show off. I do have a Decidueye, Incineroar, a Primarina, a second Decidueye, and a Solgaleo. Now, what I noticed at the pre-release, they also have a pack art for Lunala, which is nice. That way, the 3 starters plus the 2 legendaries are being represented. And I thought, I didn't see Solgaleo at first when I was there at Heroes Beacon. I thought, did they not include both legendaries? Because I'm only used to there being 4 different pack arts. But there are 5, at least, for sure, in this expansion, which is very nice. Starters and legendaries all being represented. But let's not waste any time anymore. We've already wasted plenty of it. Let's pop open the first one, featuring Decidueye. We're going in Pokédex order. Oh, that's right. Now, from what I understand, Lightning Malittens, one of our regular viewers here, has told me there is actually an 11th card. And this says 10 additional game cards. But apparently, they're including an 11th card in the form of an energy card in this new expansion. So let's see if we can do the pack trick. First of all, this is the first code card that is being secreted to the side. We'll hang on to that until we do the drawing on February 2nd. Now, Lightning said it's a 4, 2, and remainder trick. Let me think here. So I go 1, 2, 3. Normally this would be the reverse foil. You know what? I'm just going to do it the regular way, and I'll see how to switch this up, switch the pack trick up for the future. So anyway, this should... Wait, how does this work? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I've already messed this up. I think I'm going to put these to the back. I'm doing it this way. Alright, bear with me here. Let us see if I'm going to show off the rare card immediately by messing up this pack trick. Let's start with, well, reverse foil is first up. We have a Krokorok, 90 HP. Knockoff does 20, and discard a random card from your opponent's hand, and Darkness Fang does a basic 60. Next we have a common card. It is Picky Peck with Rock Smash, 10 damage, plus flip a coin if heads, 10 more. We have a Alolan Meowth. Now, this is an interesting thing to note. We see Fury Swipes does 10 times, flip 3 coins, 10 damage for each heads, but you'll notice that the energy symbol looks a little bit different. There is no actual symbol in here, just like a grayed out circle. That means, I believe, you do not need an energy card attached to this Pokemon to use the attack. So, if this is true, Alolan Meowth can attack for no energy. It's not the best attack in the world, of course, but they had this on some baby form Pokemon such as, not even just babies, I don't think, maybe some starters, but I believe I saw Magby and things like that had, or Cleffa was another one too, you can use an attack without any energy attached. I believe that's what this indicates. Anyway, moving on, we have a Sandile with Gnaw for 20 and Crunch for 30. Flip a coin. If heads, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Next is a Crabrawler with Punch for 20, Crabhammer for 40. Which card are we looking at now? A Drowsy, Psychic Boom, 10 damage, times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, and Headbutt can do 20. We have a Masquerain, which is a rare card of the set. Struggle Bug does 30. Move an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. We have Energy, so this is what Lightning was telling me about. The 11th card is going to be a basic energy, so you have a way to get energy other than from Theme Decks or a nice Elite Trainer box. You can get one energy card from each of these expansion booster packs, which is pretty cool. I like the new design of it too, just like nice and simple, basic, the energy right in the middle. Very clean looking, very crisp. Next we have a Crushing Hammer, an uncommon, of course a trainer item. Flip a coin, if heads, discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. I noticed they're changing the wording slightly. It doesn't say remove or discard an energy that is attached to your opponent's Pokemon. It just says remove it from. Now, I don't know if there was a specific reason they changed the wording or not, but they have, and we're just going to go with that. Next, we have Lily, a supporter. Draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. If it's your first turn, draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand. Alright, not bad. So basically, kind of like, say, the ability of Octillery, Abyssal Hand, or I believe there is... From the base set, we had, what is it? Fennekin. No, Delphox. That could do the same thing with, I think, Mystical Fire. But she can let you draw up to 8 on your first turn. Very cool. And the last card is a Spinda with 80 HP and Teeter Punch, 30 damage, and it confuses the opposing Pokemon. Doesn't even have to flip a coin. So that is pack number 1. Moving in Pokedex order, we're going into the Incineroar pack next. Let us see what this one has in store for us. Of course, we have to move this code card out of the way. Keep that in reserve until we have the drawing on February 2nd. And it's going to try to show itself, isn't it? Yes, it is. So, off to the side you go. Alright, so how did I mess that one up first? Let me go 1, 2, 3. I'm still going to try it like this. Alright. Now, what is it going to show us? Is this reverse foil? It is, okay. So we have a Bruxish. I actually got this as my staff contribution, or staff, what would you call it, giveaway, I guess? Staff reward as a promo card. Vivid Charge can search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, and then shuffle. Psychic Fangs does 90. Damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Next up, we have a Shelder, which can tackle for a simple 10 damage. We have a Zubat with Astonish. Choose a random card from your opponent's hand. Your opponent reveals that card and shuffles it into their deck. Next is a Poplio. There's the starter here. Sonata is on the field. Pound for 10, Water Gun for 20. Pretty basic stuff. Next, we have a Stuffle. Look at this little guy. For 2 energy, Tackle can do 30. I guess it's because it's Stab, right? Okay, then. Moving on, we have a Wingull. Roost can heal 30 from this Pokemon. It can't retreat during your next turn. So, if you could somehow maybe put some sort of a Hard Charm or something, it can reduce damage. You could maybe stall things out with that. Next, we have Experience Share. When your active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may move 1 basic energy from that Pokemon to the Pokemon this card is attached to. We've seen this item before. We've got an Araquanid. I just realized I might be seeing some Pokemon in this expansion that I have not even seen in-game yet. Araquanid with 100 HP. Ability Water Bubble. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's fire Pokemon. Very cool. Aqua Edge for a Water 2 colorless does 70. Next, we've got a Krokorok non-reverse foil, so this is what we already saw. This card is the rare because I can feel a very telltale sign on the other side. It is a Decidueye GX. Alright? First GX card of the set that I have. It does evolve, of course. GX Pokemon do evolve up from previous stages. Evolves from, what's that one called? Dartrix. 240 HP. Now, it has an ability, Feather Arrow. And you see, once during your turn before your attack, you may put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. This would work pretty good with the Gengar that can Creepshow knock anything out with 3. I like this. I might want to put this in. See, before I've said I don't really like using Pokemon EX because they seem too overpowered. Because you put a EX on the bench, it's already ready to roll. You do have to evolve up to get these GXs into play. I like the idea of trying to make this work with Gengar. Anyway, Razor Leaf for Grass and 2 colorless does 90. Of course, Pokemon GX have their own TCG equivalent of Z moves in a GX attack. For 1 Grass, Hollow Hunt GX. Put 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand. Take any 3 cards back you want. Decidueye just takes them back. I like this. We're going to put you back here, buddy. You're not Primarina GX. You're not my actual starter from the game. But I like you. So this should be the basic energy. Lightning. Fair enough. Alright. But I now know the trick that I just did puts the energy at the back. So let's see if we can figure this out as we go along. We open up the Primarina booster pack of Sun and Moon. And see if we can get a Primarina GX. We don't yet have the cards needed to put a Decidueye GX into play. But we might get lucky with these 2 remaining packs. And again, I'm sorry that I couldn't get a pre-release box, but the nice thing is, the more players we get at our events at Heroes Beacon, the more prize support that we will get from Pokemon International for future events. So, all things being considered, I hope that I'll be able to have one of these pre-release boxes of my own to be able to give you folks the code card next time around. But, so we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, which means this is the basic energy. Think. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. We're going to put this one here, put this one on the top. Alright, now if I did this right, this is basic energy. There we go, Psychic. Alright, we got this figured out, folks. Starting with a... I don't have it... Oh, actually, this is common. I was going to say, I don't have it figured out. This is an uncommon, but no. Vero is a common card. Devastating Wind. Your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck and draws 3 cards. Slashing Strike does 60, and this Pokemon can't use Slashing Strike during your next turn. Alright, a Makuhita with Surprise Attack for 30. Flip a coin if Tails, this does nothing. And Strength for 40 for a Fighting and Colorless. Next, we've got another common Shelter, Tackle for 10. We have a Togedemaru, Defense Curl, flip a coin. If heads, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks during your opponent's next turn. Discharge for a Lightning Energy 30 times. Discard all Lightning Energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 30 damage for each card you discarded in this way. That wouldn't be bad if you can combine this with Magnezone and Magnetic Circuit. Throw a bunch of Lightning Energy on a Togedemaru using the ability, and with each one you discard, 30 damage being done to the opponent. That could be enough for taking out a Pokemon EX, or I should now say a GX. So moving on, should be another common, I think? Yep, another Poplio. Good sign, we might be getting a Primarina. So Pound and Water Gun. Next is an uncommon. We have the Pelipper with Courier. Put one of your bench Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. Fly for 60. Flip a coin if tails, nothing. If heads, prevent all effects of attacks including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. Alright, how many more uncommons do we get? We got a timer ball. Flip 2 coins. For each heads, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. Interesting. So, you basically have a 50-50 shot of making this work for one Pokemon for sure. Of course, it's not a sure thing, it's 2 coin flips, but you only get evolution Pokemon with this. Next, we have a Pinsir with Roof Fling. Flip a coin. If heads, put your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your opponent's hand. Okay, so you can get a Stage 2 evolution out of the way, and they can't really evolve that quickly back into it. Guillotine, for 2 grass energy, does 50. This should be... Is it reverse foil or just rare? It is the reverse foil Hariyama. Push out, for fighting in 2 colorless, does 60. Your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. And for fighting in 3 colorless, Megaton Slap Push does a powerful 130. Look at that. And the rare card is going to be a Toucannon, 140 HP. Now, these are 2 attacks that they do learn in the game, or the video game. Echoed Voice does 60. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Echoed Voice attack does 60 more damage. And Beak Blast does 100. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Not bad. Alright, so we have 2 packs remaining. We're going to go into a Decidueye once again. We'll save the Legendary for the final pack opening. And just as a reminder, of course, for your chance to win one of the many code cards I'm pulling out of these booster packs, plus a little bit, something extra I will mention in a moment. Just leave your answer to the question of the day down below with a hashtag QOTD in your comment. Once again, that question is, as a reminder, which Pokemon from the Alola region is your favorite and why? So, I think I did that trick right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and this is the basic energy. So we find... I messed up. Anyhow, we have a reverse foil Parasect. Fury Cutter for 2 colorless energy, 10 plus. Flip 3 coins. If one of them is heads, this attack does 20 more damage. If 2 of them are heads, this attack does 60 more damage. If all of them are heads, this does 120 more damage. That could do a lot of decent damage. 2 grass and a colorless for Mushroom Drain to do 70 damage and heal 30 from Parasect. Alright, which card is next? We just got the basic common cards. Cutie Fly, 30 HP. That's not a lot to work with. But for a Fairy Energy, Fly Around does 10. If any damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks during your opponent's next turn, flip a coin. If heads, prevent that damage. We now have a Dratini. I noticed the color for the Dragon cards is different than it was in previous generations. It's a lot lighter and more yellowish, it looks like. So for Grass Energy, Signs of Evolution, search your deck for a Dratini, a Dragonair, and a Dragonite. Reveal them and put them into your hand. And then shuffle your deck. And Tail Smack does a whopping 10 damage. Next is a Spearow with Peck Bugs. 10 plus. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a grass Pokemon, this does 30 more damage. That's pretty decent. It does mirror the super effectiveness of flying versus grass and bug types. Psyduck, for 1 energy, Confusion Wave. Both active Pokemon are now confused. Even Psyduck itself. Kinda sad, but kinda makes sense. It is Psyduck. Next, we have an Eevee. Now, a nice thing about this Eevee, the ability Energy Evolution. When you attach a basic energy card from your hand to this Pokemon during your turn, you may search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon that is the same type as that energy card and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. Now, we had this question come up at the pre-release. This ability does supersede the whole cannot evolve the turn put into play rule. Normally, if you play an Eevee, you can't just play a card from hand to evolve into one of the Eeveelutions, but the ability allows you to ignore that. You can attach, for example, we saw one player attach a Psychic Energy, immediately evolve into Espeon GX from this set, and get that Pokemon in play immediately. And for 1 energy, Quick Draw, flip a coin. If heads, draw a card. Really not the best attack. I've seen other attacks that you don't need to flip a coin to be able to draw cards. So, definitely this Eevee is going to be used just to evolve quickly into other forms. So next, we have a double colorless energy. It is back, folks. I do have one of my own right now. Very useful card. Moving on, we have a Corsola. I said they should have a card, Toxapex, that, based on its Pokedex entry in Sun and Moon, says all of your opponent's Corsola are now discarded. Or even worse, knocked out. That would be kind of overpowered if they're using Corsola. Call for Family for 1 energy. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then shuffle your deck, similar to Pokemon Fan Club, I guess. And Water and 2 colorless. Surf does 60. Next up, an Ultra Ball. Very cool. Same as before. Discard 2 cards from hand. If you do, search your deck for Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Now, is this the reverse foil? Nope, this is the rare. It's Icona, everybody! Palossand! Excellent! So 130 HP, ability Wall of Sand. This Pokemon takes 20 less damage from attacks after applying weakness and resistance. I like that. Less damage being done all around, not just from like water types or anything. And fighting in 3 colorless, absorb vitality does 50. Heal from this Pokemon the same amount of damage you did to your opponent's active Pokemon. I can see this guy being a good candidate for strong energy. You know, you put 4 strong energy onto this Pokemon, you're doing 130 damage, healing 130 damage from Palo Sand. You're already taking 20 less damage. I want to make a Sun and Moon team deck immediately with Icona as one of the main Pokemon. Anyway, the reverse foil card is now going to... No, wait, I did that. We have a fighting energy to go with good old Icona, the Palo Sand right there. Now, final booster pack that I have from the pre-release for Sun and Moon is the legendary Solgaleo. Downside is, of course, I am a Pokemon Moon player, so I didn't and don't have a Lunala pack to open up. I'm sure I would have had unlimited good luck, nothing but GXs out of that pack, but it is what it is. This is all I had available to take home with me from the pre-release because everyone else had just all the awesome cards there. Now, let me try one more time to do this right. We've got 3. This should be the basic energy. So we're going to go like this. Now, have I done this the proper way? This should be basic. Cheer me on, folks. Give me some good luck down below. Yes! Alright, fire energy. Very good. Now we should have the 5 commons? Yes. We have a Morlul, Flickering Spores for 1 energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep, and Ram can do 10. We have a Chinchou, Searching Light. Look at one of your face-down prize cards. An Electro Ball can do 30 damage. We have a Cutie Fly again with Fly Around. We've got another Dratini looking for those evolutions, and another Dratini as well. I like how that Dratini can basically let itself get knocked out next turn, but you're setting up for evolution into Dragonite on the bench with something, you know, taking some hits along the way. So there's another Spearow there. Dragonair right here, an uncommon. Dragon's Wish for 1 colorless. During your next turn, you may attach any number of energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon. I like that. That is very cool. Talk about energy acceleration. That's it right there. And Tail Smack for Grass, Lightning, and Colorless does 60 damage. Another uncommon is going to be Charjabug with Shocking Jaws. Now, interesting, Grubbin in this set is a Grass type, but it does evolve into a Lightning type Charjabug. So Shocking Jaws for Lightning and Colorless, 20 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, and Lightning and 2 colorless, Electro Ball does 50. Last uncommon is a Herdier. Ability Treasure Hunt. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may put an item card from your discard pile into your hand. That makes sense. Basically like Stoutland Search. And Bite for 3 energy does 50. Reverse foil, if I did this right, is a Toxapex. And it has an ability. Wait, was I right? Did I predict the future? Toxic Spikes. Whenever your opponent's active Pokemon retreats, their new active Pokemon is poisoned. Oh, I like that. That is a very interesting ability. No matter... I've said they could put something like this where as soon as a Pokemon becomes active, they can have an effect. This does allow that. You can poison immediately. Imagine an expanded format, you can put the Burbank City Gym in play too and do a lot more damage. Venoshock, 50 plus. If your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 50 more damage. So, if they bring another Pokemon up, now it says only by retreating, so if they actually play Switch or something like that, it's not going to affect it, but if they do a basic retreat, they're going to get poisoned on the way up. You can then do 100 to them next turn. Toxapex, you're a beast. I don't like you, but yet I do, in a way. And the last card, the rare of the Solgaleo booster, is Crabominable. This is a Pokemon I have not yet seen in the video game, but I actually have seen it, you know, outside of my own playthrough. It does evolve from Crab Brawler, 140 HP, and for 2 water and a colorless, Avalanche does 80. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. No weakness and resistance for the bench. And for 3 water and a colorless, Ice Hammer does a devastating 140 damage. Of course, it's a pretty hefty retreat cost of 4. So that is what I got out of my booster packs. Let us once again take a quick look at Decidueye GX and the awesomeness here. Now, I didn't get any Rowlet or Dartrix, so I cannot actually put this into play. But in the online game, I could see me wanting to make a deck featuring this Pokemon, the evolutions, and Gengar, because Feather Arrow could set up anything for a Gengar Creepshow knockout. I like that idea, that strategy right there. So, that is going to be it for my booster pack openings. As I said, I've got these 5 code cards available just by answering that question of the day, and on February 2nd, I'll do a drawing from everyone in the comments that has left a comment answering the question with hashtag QOTD to win one of these code cards. But there is more. Now, my nephew was very gracious enough to allow me to make use of, since he doesn't play Pokemon TCG Online, get all of the code cards that he had from his pre-release pack. There is the pre-release code card itself that gets you the 22 card pack plus the promo, and the 4 booster pack code cards that came in the pre-release pack, as well as the 3 additional booster packs that he got for completing the tournament. So that is a total of 12 booster pack code cards and 1 pre-release box code card. All these up for grabs for you folks out there just by answering that question of the day. Once more, question is, which Pokemon from the Alola region is your favorite and why? Could be a new species of Pokemon, it could be an Alola form of Pokemon, it could be one of the previous evolutions or previous Pokemon that came from a different region and still is the same, like Spearow, as I said, Makuhita, things like that. Just basically, which of them is your favorite? Why is it your favorite? Leave that comment down below. Hashtag QOTD for question of the day. On February 2nd, I'll be drawing names from the entire list of comments to win one of these 13, unlucky number, 13 code cards that are available from the pre-release expansion, pre-release tournament for Sun and Moon. As I say, they won't be redeemable until February 3rd, I'm pretty sure, but at least I'll have a record of everyone that has won the codes. I'll give you the codes immediately, but I'll keep a record of who has which code in case you guys lose it and need to ask me again for what it is, but I'll keep these all on hand. Anyway, that is it for my booster pack openings. Hope you were cheering me on for some good luck, and once again, let's just take a quick look at the Decidueye GX. I'm not sure how well the camera's going to focus. It's probably not going to, but you can see the colors right there. A very nice card, and that is that. But I guess that's going to wrap things up. If you did attend a pre-release tournament for Sun and Moon in your area, feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know how things went for you. Did you get any awesome cards? Did you get any Pokemon GX out of your first Sun and Moon packs? I'd be interested to hear that. Just leave that in a comment down below. And if you like this coverage of the pre-release, just throw a like down there below on the video. Much appreciated. But with that, I guess we are done. Professor Chaz is signing off. Thank you for checking out today's Pokemon TCG pre-release tournament for Sun and Moon. Stay tuned to the channel for some more loud noises in the background, plus some more Pokemon Sun and Moon cards coming out as the set does go on sale on February 3rd this year. Until then, Professor Chaz is signing off. I'll catch you next time.